Hello, everybody. Welcome to Four Tracks Good, a special episode today where we take the channel abroad. First of many to come, hopefully, Neil.
Ja, guten Tag, wie geht's?
I'm just trying to come back with my GCSE German, but it's not quite there, Neil.
The GCSE, I did O-level, and for our younger viewers, if you Google O-level, it will come up as PhD, as a basic modern day 2024 translation of that.
Yeah. But I was the first to take GCSEs, and obviously the hardest year to take it. New exam format and everything, so probably equivalent.
Yeah, you hold on to that thought, but it wasn't.
Anyway, I think it would be great to look at your holiday snaps. I was lucky enough to have a look at your full collection of holiday material, which was great fun to look at. But I've assembled the best bits for the channel, and I think we're going to look at your mini Beatles tour to begin with, which I found really interesting. So let's have a look at that first.
Just walking through the fringes of the St. Pauli district of Hamburg, a part of the district that borders onto the notorious Reeperbahn. Now, as you might be able to detect, this probably isn't the most desirable part of the city. It was indeed a very fine city, but it is one which is very closely associated with the history and evolution of the Beatles. For it's a city where they evolved from being a fairly run-of-the-mill covers band to a really tight outfit who are ready to go and take on the world. As you can probably see from the footage, this area is very much worse for wear as showing the signs of the night before. Now, of course, apart from its fascinating history, Hamburg also has a big part to play in the story of the Beatles. After making their debut as a five-piece as the Beatles at the Jacaranda Club in Liverpool, the owner of that club and their manager, Alan Williams, along with his wife, brought the band in August 1960 here to Hamburg to play some dates in the Reeperbahn St. Pauli area. After getting the minibus, getting the ferry across from Harwich, this is where they arrived. On the 17th of August, 1960, the club was closed. They slept somewhere else the first night, then it was opened up for them. It wasn't an experience I don't think they were expected to enjoy, as well as long nights, very extensive sets of, kind of tough audience of sailors and local ne'er-do-wells. They also had to sleep in pretty rotten accommodation. I think John Lennon and McCartney both talked about just having to sleep in the nearby cinema next to ladies' toilets. Well, by October 1960, complaints from residents had forced the club, the Indra Club, to close down, so they moved from here, probably about 50 yards, just up the road, to the Kaiserkeller. After the Indra Club was closed, they moved here, the Kaiserkeller, in October 1960, where they played for 8 to 9 hours, alternating sets with another Liverpool band, Roy Storm and the Hurricanes, who later, of course, featured the drummer Richard Starkey, Ringo Starr, remember that name. This was a residency that ended pretty unceremoniously because between them, Roy Storm, Hurricanes and the Beatles decided to break the wooden stage by jumping on it and jumping off instruments, and the owner of the Kaiserkeller understandably wasn't too happy, folded into a local bar and set his heavies on them. They therefore moved from here down to the top 10 club down on the Reeperbahn. I'm standing in the doorway of what is now the Hippodrome club. But back in 1961, this was the top 10 club, and it's where the Beatles came to play after they were turfed out of their residency at the Kaiserkeller. They played here for a month or two in 1961 before being deported because George Harrison was underage, and the old manager of the Kaiserkeller got his revenge by pointing out the relative usefulness of Mr. Harrison, so he was deported home. The rest of the band followed them. They came back here the following year, this time without Stuart Sutcliffe, who decided to leave the band. By the spring of 1962, the Beatles finally got to their ultimate destination in Hamburg, the Star Club. This was the most prestigious of the clubs in the St. Pauli Reeperbahn era, 2,000 seat capacity, and they played here for months in 1962. But they also had to return a few months later in November for contractual reasons. It wasn't a visit they wanted to make. They felt outgrown Hamburg. Of course, by November 1962, Love Me Do had already been released and reached number 17 in the UK chart, so they were very much on their way to success. By November 62, the drummer had changed. So now there were a four-piece with Lennon, McCartney, Harrison, and Ringo Starr, Pete Best having been unceremoniously dumped. So by the end of 1962, the Beatles had done Hamburg, they made their first recordings with Tony Sheridan, become better as musicians, and life was about to change for them quite dramatically. Okay, so here I am in front of the most legendary doorways in rock history. In 1975, John Lennon released his rock and roll album, an album of covers, an album forced on him because the publisher of one of Chuck Berry's songs, Maurice Levy, said that John Lennon had stolen part of this song for his track Come Together, which features, of course, on Abbey Road. So he records this album, produced by Phil Spector, and he used a photograph that was taken when he was here in Hamburg in 1962.
Oh, that was great, Neil. I really enjoyed that. I'm not the biggest Beatles fan, as you know, certainly not in comparison to yourself. So it was a bit of an education to me. Yeah, really enjoyed that.
It was an education filming around there, to be honest, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw some sights for a young lad like myself who isn't a man of the world. It was a bit of an eye-opener.
Yeah.
It really was.
I wonder if it was maybe a little further on the scale when the Beatles arrived. It may be a little tamer now, probably.
Yeah, I mean the descriptions of Hamburg in the very early 60s. I mean, portray that certainly that part of the city has been, pretty rough, pretty challenging, and there were definitely some sights. And I think that was part of the appeal to these sort of 5 young lads. They must have thought this was it. Christmas had come at once. When they were there. And also you had, a number of, there's a theory that someone's put forward that the teenagers in Germany at that age, so they would have been 1960, those are 14, 15, 16, 17, just come out of the war, and they're still traumatized and they're still getting used to normal life. And yeah, some of the descriptions of teenage behavior at that time as well are pretty dramatic. So yeah, it must have been a really exciting time for them to have gone to that city, taken from Liverpool, first time traveling abroad for most of them. McCartney and Lennon did a backpacking tour to France a year or two earlier. But yeah, I mean, what an adventure for them. Definitely.
Yeah. I guess I wonder if the novelty wore off because they were there for quite some time. And I know they probably look back on the period quite fondly, but was it getting a bit of a slog towards the end, do you think?
Yeah, and I think it was. They went back. Was it sort of through 4 times in the end? Certainly, I think as I say in the film, by November 62, the last time they go, they don't want to go at all. They've been able to make that breakthrough. They've had their first single out, and it's done pretty well in the charts. They've got a whole album's worth of material as well, ready to go. So they don't really want to be going back and playing these clubs. Well, I mean, even if they played the Star Club, which was the biggest in that area. It didn't quite have a novelty that it did the first couple of times they went. But equally, they had amazing experiences. They became much better as a band. They swapped instruments once Stuart Sutcliffe left, and McCartney had to go on bass reluctantly at the time. And of course, the Pete Best relationship's an interesting one, because he's only brought into the band very, very soon, very shortly before they actually go to Hamburg. They haven't got a permanent drummer, so they bring him in. He's a good-looking guy. Can play reasonably good drums, but he's the accounts I've got, and it's the sort of Mark Lewison book, is one of the best on this tune in, tune out. Pete Best is over there somewhere, apart from this sort of core group of Sutcliffe, Harrison, McCartney, and Lennon. And I think they resent him a bit. He's the good-looking guy, and he gets most of the girls as well. But he's different. He's different in terms of his sort of sensibility and personality. And I think they themselves are questioning whether or not he's the right fit for them. But of course, it's ultimately George Martin who says, "Look, you need to change the drummer if you're going to move forward."
Yeah. Well, it's probably an item off the Beatles bucket list you can tick off. I've been looking forward to doing that for some time. But yeah,
I think it is. And you go to Liverpool and look at some of the sites there. And I haven't done the National Trust homes yet, which I still want to do. Yeah, and I've been to a couple of sites in London. Obviously, to Abbey Road, which is worth going anyway. Just seeing the frustration on the drivers' faces as loads of tourists want to cross the pedestrian crossing and have a photo taken again and again and again. But it was somewhat I'd wanted to go and see. So the rock, and it's. I might have said this in the film, but it's a strange area in the sense that the people hanging around are either probably almost like seedy people, but they're there for different reasons. And you've got these Beatles nerds, and you got parties of Beatles tours taking place, and somehow they come together bizarrely in that one part of the city. So
So we saw there was a Beatles sculpture at the end of that video there. So there's quite a big following of Beatles fans and recognition of Beatles within Hamburg and that area.
Yeah, and you can get official tours that I think it ends with a band performance, which I'll be honest sounded a bit rubbish. I didn't fancy sounding a crap. Where I was doing my filming, and I would probably be just ahead or just behind of a much larger organised group getting their tour. And unfortunately for people who paid a lot of money, they're not getting as much information as maybe if they'd have slipped a few euros my way. About it. So there is still a huge amount of interest. And because on that and their history there. And,
And I guess more generally with Beatles, do you think they're being milked? They've gone too far in terms of milking the Beatles product, because the Forever, there was a new Disney documentary just come out, and the material is released in multiple formats continually. Do you think got to the point with a bit of saturation now with the Beatles, or do you think people are just going to keep on buying?
I think that's a really good question. On the one hand, I think we should be really grateful the Beatles existed for how they helped progress popular music. And I feel very, and I'm not overstating it, but very lucky to be alive at the same time as Paul McCartney. I certainly do. I think there is a risk that they're looking for any old bit of material to keep, because they know also that McCartney was 82. He's not going to be around for much longer. So I think they do want to make the most of it as they can. I thought possibly the Peter Jackson Get Back, Let It Be film probably would have been the end of it.
Yeah.
In terms of what's broadcast, particularly as with, you had Ron Howard's 8 days a week film that came out a few years ago, which covers a similar ground. It's broad. It's a bit broader, but certainly there's an overlap with the one that's just come out on Disney. The thing is, it comes down to economics. There are still people who will shell out cash for new Beatles products, and to watch it. And I think they probably also realised that they haven't got much. There's no more recorded stuff. I think it's all pretty much all come out as well. And it's interesting they haven't gone to Rubber Soul and backwards from there with their sort of remastering and re-releases, because I don't think there's probably much in the way of unused material. Actually, it hasn't already been released as part of the anthology in, was it 96, 97? But I certainly can see from a non-Beatles fan's point of view that maybe this well's running a bit dry.
Yeah. It comes a lot back to the discussion we had, Veronica, a few episodes back about collectors versus consumers, because the material that's being released now, it's the same material, I'd say, maybe mastered in a different way, and perhaps loses its original appeal anyway. So it's really just there for collecting, isn't it? In a way.
Yes and no. I think it's nice to have the different versions, and I really like the job they did with the White Album box set, because you got the box set, you got their demos from Isha as well. So a load of the stuff they'd written when they were in Marrakesh, and it's their acoustic demos, and they're great demos in many cases. And there are some tracks on there that never became Beatles songs. Lennon's Child of Nature, which becomes Jealous Guy. Some of Harrison's first solo albums on there. McCartney, I think he's got Teddy Boy, which appears on his McCartney album, and Junk as another, which is on that album. I think it does verge on being more for collectors, but I think when it can shine a different light on, probably the most important band in pop music history, then I think it's something that probably many people would be interested in. And I'd also say that I know that people like, their old producer Glyn Johns will say that he should be remastering this and re-releasing it because he was recorded in a certain way. That's how it's meant to be heard, and that's part of it.
Yeah,
I get it. There is something new that you hear, and certainly particularly around like Ringo's drums are a lot sharper, a lot fuller forward in the mix. And I'm saying this probably justify the money I spent on the box sets, but I can hear differences.
Yeah.
And certainly compared to the stereo mixes that have come out before, which haven't been brilliant.
Oh, interesting. But you had a bit more time in Hamburg to explore some record stores as well, didn't you?
Yeah, we did at the Hamburg, particularly the St. Pauli area. It's got some brilliant record stores.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were grateful to film some while you were there, and we're gonna have
I did.
look. Yeah.
So look, how about that?
Yeah, let's have a look.
I'm outside Groove City Records. Now, I'd love to be able to show you what it's like inside Groove City Records, because they have an amazing collection of hip hop or R&B, some great t-shirts too. But you're not allowed to film or take your camera in there. So sadly, I couldn't show you how to make, but if you're in Hamburg, in St. Pauli, come to Groove City Records. So here I am outside Zardoz Records, which is in the St. Pauli district of Hamburg. And actually, it's one of the finest record stores I've been in. There's an amazing array of new albums, second-hand albums, covering a huge range of genre, even including Christmas records. And also what struck me about this record shop is it still sells 7-inch singles. And by the dozen, there's lots of them. And also some really interesting ones. I don't know if you can see in the window, a copy of the Manchester United Calypso, which first came out in the 1950s. There's arguably the greatest Christmas song ever, Paul McCartney's Wonderful Christmas Time, as well as singles from the 60s, an artist from a across different countries and different time periods. So come and visit Zardoz Records. So here I am outside Back Records in the St. Pauli district of Hamburg. This is run by Steve. It's a great collection of new, actually mostly second-hand records, but wow, what a selection of second-hand records he's got in here. As you might be able to see in the window, it's over 20 years old. Okay. Now let's go and find out from Steve a bit more about the store. Okay, so here I am at Back Records in St. Pauli district, and I'm here with the owner, Steve. Nice to meet you, Steve.
Nice to meet you, Neil.
Nice to meet you. Thank you very
too.
much. Yeah, thank you very much for talking to us this afternoon. Can you tell me a little bit about the record store? When did it open?
Like you see, the last year was 20-year anniversary,
Oh, wow.
so it's 21 years now. Yeah, I've been here.
So 21 years ago, a lot of people weren't buying records.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that I was crazy doing this.
Yeah.
They all say like, yeah, the people are dying with you, but now they're like 16-year-old coming again and buying vinyl.
So why did you open the record store?
That's what I always wanted to do. And I got the chance. I was working for another guy in another town.
Okay.
And then I moved to Hamburg and asked him if he wants to have a second store. And he said, yeah, I was always thinking about it. So maybe now is the time to do it. But after 2 years, he said, and there's no money for me. So if you want to buy all the stuff, then do it by yourself. And that's what I did.
Oh, brilliant. And have you seen that vinyl has become more popular in recent years and more people are buying records?
Yeah.
And what are they tending to buy? Is there an artist, an album that people are really looking for?
Different stuff. I know that the Black Pumas are going very well. Where is it?
Okay. I've not heard of those. Are they a German group?
North American group.
Oh, is it? An group?
Soul record.
Okay.
Really. They're so I might sold a lot of all the richer stuff.
Yeah.
Well, because becoming more expensive and expensive. But it's one of the best things that
Okay.
the vinyl becomes popular again.
It is.
And
Yeah.
rating quite
Yeah. It's become very expensive.
new stuff.
Yeah. So obviously most of your stuff is secondhand or sort of vintage. What is there anything particular that you try to focus on that you look for, or just anything good do you think will sell?
When I was young, I was all Apple stuff.
Yeah.
I was glad to have some metal stuff, but it's hard to get secondhand and never LPs. So Stoner and Pipe, a lot of 70s rock or all the 80s stuff.
Yeah.
Previous rigs, a lot of with the bit of jazz and stuff. And I didn't listen to everything.
Of course, well, you've got a fantastic range of music here, and it's great to see that it's doing so well. And we're seeing there's lots and lots of really cool record stores in this area as well. So it's really encouraging to see, and it's great. Thanks very much for spending a bit of time with us this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So, at the end of a long day and a hard day's night of filming, I took a little treat. Cheers!
Well, it was a great selection of stores you visited there, Neil. How did you find the record store scene in Hamburg?
I found it really vibrant, actually. It was within a fairly small area. There was a handful, a brilliant store, and they were all sort of had different focus as well, which I really liked. Zardoz had a brilliantly extensive range, and as I was saying, the film, even going towards a number of fairly rare 7 inches that it's got in stock. And as I did film in that. It's a bit like an undercover documentary. I was filming that, and I think I've forgotten to ask if I could film in store. But hey, all publicity is good publicity. And then it obviously went to Back Records, and this was recommended to me by Paul, who's one of the vinyl who'd been there before. And he said really helpfully that Stevie runs it. A, he's really friendly, but B, speaks really good English, which is great because we've established already my German is brilliant. So, and I emailed him and just said, look, can I come in and do a bit of filming, said a bit about the podcast, and he got back straight away, which was lovely. And we had a really good conversation. He was a lovely guy, really friendly. He's got mostly second-hand stuff in there, but again, he's got great selection. And there were several people coming in, and there were music aficionados as well. And then you look for when they're asking for something. So yeah, I really enjoyed meeting him, really enjoyed going to the store. And I did have to restrain myself from going into other ones because I find it very hard not to buy something if I go to a record shop. But yeah, if you live in MT, particularly in that St. Pauli area, if you live in there, you're spoiled for choice. Really.
Yeah, I was just having a Google at how many record stores are in Hamburg, and there's a lot. There is a lot you could quite easily do. And a long weekend going around those.
You could be fun. Before I went, I did go on Google, and I sort of plotted out on Google Map where they all were. And there was loads that we didn't even get to as well. That's the thing. There was a number. And equally, near Zardoz Records, there's a market on a Saturday that had, brilliant second-hand record store, which I stepped away from for financial reasons. And there was a shop near there which also sold primarily German music. It must be a really big part then of sort of life for people, certainly in that part of the city. Even if I haven't that number of record stores. And as I said, Steve's been around for over 20 years.
Yeah, I was amazed. He must have gone through some tough times during that period as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying to him, that you opened when people were not buying vinyl in the numbers that they are today.
Yeah.
So that must have been really tricky.
Yeah. And Steve managed to sell you some of his vinyl, didn't he? He gave the hard sell.
He did. I was looking for something suitable to buy in there, and I'd asked him about what was popular, and nothing made it. I don't know whether he owns the record label that's band they're on, but he eulogized about this American duo. And bear in mind, he also said that he liked heavier stuff. And you're from this there, the Black Pumas. Yeah. They are a band I hadn't heard of before, as you could tell from the film, and asked if they were German, which was a little bit embarrassing. And he recommended this, so I bought it. It's more a soul record, which isn't a genre that I would normally choose to spend my money on.
I was quite surprised because I did have a quick listen. I thought this is a nail.
Cool. It is. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I think it's the only album. I think they brought a live album out as well. But it's 2019 is the American duo, Black Pumas, and I find it fun. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed it. It's a great recommendation by Steve. So very glad I bought that actually. Recommend if you haven't heard Black Pumas, go and give it a whirl. It is definitely worth it. Okay. Yeah. It is, where would I put it genre wise? I don't know if I'll expose my embarrassment about lack of knowledge about soul, but it's closer to the soul elements of Michael Kiwanuka. I mean, no, he can be a little bit indie, can't he? But yeah, it's closer to his soul tendencies. But whatever. It's just a brilliant record. And I should also at this point make a formal acknowledgement of the filming job that Missy Smith did as well.
I was about to say, I think she deserves a lot of credit for bringing everything to life in your tour.
She does, and particularly as it was meant to be a nice romantic tour of the Christmas markets in Hamburg, weekend away.
Yeah.
We spent loads of it filming Beatles sites in red light areas and going to red club stuff. And what made it, I am especially grateful, is on the Saturday afternoon. I have to reveal this, Gary, because it happened. Is that the Saturday afternoon we did all the sites around the Reaper Barn of the Beatles clubs, filmed it, went back to hotel evening, and realised that this Muppet hadn't turned his mic on, so it hadn't recorded the sound. So to her eternal credit, Rebecca said that we'll go back the following morning. So we did, and we filmed it all again. We went to a fish market, had some breakfast, and then did those sites again. When, to be honest, it looked like a disaster area actually after the Saturday night, Sunday morning that preceded it. So eternally grateful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great excuse to go around them again, Neil. I'm sure.
I thought, well, maybe we could release a blooper reel even. I don't know if that, maybe there's sufficient interest in seeing me lip sync outside, 60-year-old German clubs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to see.
We'll see what the figures are for this one first, I think, before we go down that road. But thanks you for sharing that with us, and look forward to future tours abroad. And thanks for doing your bit for Hamburg tourism.
That was brilliant. It's a great city, really a fantastic city. So we had a wonderful time.
Right, well, until next time, thanks for watching.
Express the surprise.
Bye for now.